Elm Street 3.
Your suffering will be legendary.
Strange things start to happen.
Is there something you want?
Yeah, lay off your fucking horn, asshole.
Hey, fuck off, buddy.
What the hell's going on up here?
Amy saw a snake.
Just a snake. Just a snake. My God, I've never seen a snake that big before. The zoos don't even have it that big.
Well, Amy, he's not here anymore. He must have gone home to his little snake house. You know how fucking lucky you are I'm tied up.
Why don't we get the radio?
John, why don't you get up and get it? Oh, I don't want to.
Oh,
come on.
God.
Gotta do everything. You're so lazy.
So lame.
What bag's it in? So lame.
You know how fucking lucky you are I'm tied up. You're fucking lucky I'm tied up.
Shut up.
I'm gonna kill you.
You remember what Mama said about fast food? The preservatives and additives will kill you.
Well, shit. I'm hungry. Let's get something to eat.
Well, I'm hungry too, but you don't hear me complaining all the time.
Well, let's stop all this conversation and get us some grub.
I should die before I hold you. Life was one big sham.
Hi, this is Linda Day George, and the hysteria continues.
And indeed it does. Welcome back to The Hysteria Continues, and this is episode 191. And this time we're off to the woods for a cannibal campout. And if that doesn't say Nathan all over it, I don't know what does. So yes, it is a Nathan pick. Every fourth one is a Nathan pick, and I think Nathan, well, we'll find out whether Nathan has out-Nathaned himself this time. So Nathan, you were very pleased you picked Cannibal Campout.
I'm super duper excited that I picked it. I think that it has potential to be one of the better movies that we've chosen for the podcast.
Thank you. Yes, it has potential. That's for that. I'm not sure if I quite agree.
Has plenty.
Sorry,
you've got to agree. You've got to agree. It's got plenty.
Well, we'll see. We shall see what our opinions are of Cannibal Campout a little bit later. But Erik, have you been camping out anywhere?
I've been showing out. Yeah, thanks, Nathan, for this wonderful gift you've given us yet again.
You're welcome.
Every 4 episodes, you give us such a wonderful gift.
Yes, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Joseph, are you excited to be heading to the woods?
Fuck no, it's too hot here.
Yeah, you've got sort of, not, is it record breaking or is it just
That's the hottest I've ever known it. If you're interested in the weather, and I argue that the weather's more interesting than this film, we got up to 109 degrees yesterday.
What's that in centigrade?
I don't know. I don't know.
40-something centigrade, I think.
Ooh, that is hot, isn't it?
That is hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have aircon?
Oh yeah, I have air conditioning. My job requires me to do a lot of errands a lot of times, and I don't like being out in the heat. And the air compressor in my car is scraping against the timing belt. If I run the AC, the car runs sluggish, and so until I get it fixed, I have to kind of meander between the two, and it's very. Let's just say I've been irritated this week.
Well, have you considered just wearing a pair of hot pants to work?
Well, I'm self-employed, so I can wear whatever I want for the most part.
You can rub like an ice cream over yourself then if you get too hot.
Erik, we've seen...
I could film it, and it'd be better than what we're about to talk about, maybe.
Well, Erik, we have seen the photos of your work Christmas parties.
Ooh. Yeah, they place in winter, though, so I'm fully clothed, usually.
Okay, fair enough. So, yes, well, before we get on to the delights of Cannibal Campout, we can have a quick chat about what we're watching recently. So, Nathan, do you want to go first? What else have you been watching?
Well, unfortunately, I haven't been able to watch a lot lately because, I mean, as everybody knows, my dad had passed away. I'm not trying to bring the podcast down or anything, but I did want to say thanks to everybody who reached out and contributed to that fundraiser. That was really cool of everybody. So, it was much appreciated. But otherwise, I mean, I've been watching a lot of comfort films. I'm rewatching stuff we've already covered, like Killer Party, Final Exam, April Fool's Day. So I haven't really watched anything new. Although I really want to watch that movie, The Perfection, all the way through. We started it, but Wes wasn't really enjoying it. So I'll probably pick it up later. Hey, Stripes.
Wow. Stripes is vocal today.
Yes. She thinks if I'm talking, then I'm talking to her, I guess.
I've seen The Perfection all the way through. I thought it's pretty a cool little movie, but it does get kind of more and more batshit crazy as it goes along. So I think you'd probably enjoy it.
Okay, yeah, I think I will. I'll just finish it up at some point soon. But yeah, I hope to get back into some movie watching again very soon and catch up on some of the new ones. I really want to see the Child's Play movie, but I haven't had a chance to go yet.
Well, that's had surprisingly good reviews, isn't it?
Yeah,
because I think everyone thought it was going to be like a shit show, didn't they? But it's actually sort of, from what I've read anyway, it's people are saying that it's actually pretty entertaining.
Yeah, I think I'll like it. So
yeah,
I think I'd like it as well.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you, Nathan. And just as an aside, does anyone the Scream new Scream 3-part whatever it is has started, hasn't it? Has anyone caught any of them yet?
I haven't seen it, but everyone on the forums is saying it's saying it's very bad. And I saw the trailer. The trailer looked really bad. So I'm just not interested right now. I may catch it later, but I'm just not in a hurry or anything.
I'll probably watch it before we record next. But I heard that it was it'd been delayed for a while, so it was alarm bells were ringing. It seemed to have been sort of shunted around quite a lot, so it never sounds good. Although it does, the thing that did intrigue me slightly was that someone said that Tony Todd as Candyman turns up in it.
Well, I think he's like a junkyard owner, and he has a hook for a hand. It's like a joke or something. I don't think he's supposed to be Candyman. But,
okay, right. Well, I've not seen it yet. So, Joseph, what about you?
Watch,
sorry.
Slasher season 3, Justin?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember if you'd said you'd watched it all the way through or not.
Yeah.
We talked about it on the Next of Kin episode when you were gone.
Oh, okay. Because I did get to watch that, and I really enjoyed it. I need to listen to that episode so I can hear your guys' thoughts.
Yeah.
So what did you think about it? Because myself and Joseph, I think we had slightly mixed feelings. We thought it kind of started off strong and then got a little bit kind of depressing, and also they were like the other reviews I've seen of people saying that one of the problems with it is that there's like none of the characters, you've got one or two sympathetic characters, but all of the peripheral characters, the ones that get bumped off, are all pretty despicable. So it felt, and the more it went on, it just felt slightly more depressing than fun.
I mean, I could see that. I still enjoyed it all the way to the end, even though I did find, it did get really depressing, especially I thought there was a couple of spots that were a little mean-spirited just in general to me, like the girl that hit him with the car, just what ends up happening with her. And then we get all these flashbacks about her childhood and stuff. And I'm like, it just seems that it was depressing enough. And then what ends up happening with her, just, I don't know. It's just even more so. I felt it was unnecessary. I'm like, I really don't need to know that much about the character, because you guys know I felt bad for the characters in Sleepaway Camp too. So, yes. I mean, of course I'm going to feel bad for a lot of the people if I get to know them really well, like what they were trying to do on the show. But overall, I still really liked it. I liked the final girl, and I liked I really liked the survivors at the end. I thought that at least one of them I wasn't expecting to live. So that was kind of fun.
Nathan, what are your general quick thoughts on Next of Kin?
I love Next of Kin. I think that it's one of those movies that's a slow burn, because I remember Erik kind of bringing that up as well when he was watching it, that it was kind of a slow burn. But once it kicks in, it's really good. And that one scene where she's running out of the house and all the chaos is happening, I think that was just one of the best filmed sequences in horror history, because it just doesn't get the accolades that a lot of the classics do. But I think that scene is just fantastic.
Yeah.
Thumbs up for me.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you. And Joseph, did you... What?
I'm sorry, what were you saying? I heard somebody mixing a drink or something. I thought Justin was back on the wagon.
I am on the wagon. I'm on the wagon. And the wheels come off on Saturday.
Or off the wagon, sorry.
Yeah, no, I've got a diet. I'm drinking a Diet Coke at the moment, so I'm following in Erik's
Diet
footsteps.
Coke break.
Yeah. So, Joseph, what about you?
Well, the only thing I've been able to watch is the rest. Well, not all of them, but Nathan doesn't know anything about this because he was absent on the last episode. But I got coerced into watching that entire MCU universe crap. I've got like 4 movies left. It's pretty much the same as I said last time. I've liked a few. I've loved a couple. For the most part, it's just one-time watches I don't really care about. But I did see Ant-Man, Eric, and I absolutely loved Ant-Man. I thought it was fantastic. Very playful, very good sense of humor. And, of course, you got Paul Rudd, who's a likable presence. So that's pretty much all I've seen. I haven't really had a chance to see anything like new horror-wise, but I hope to this coming week.
Okay, well, you're taking one for the team with that, so thank you.
Yeah.
Eric, how about you?
Okay, I've seen 2, they're not new releases as such, they're new to sort of home viewing. I saw The Prodigy, which is not a concert movie about the 1990s rave stroke punk band from the UK. This is a slightly underwhelming, I would say, evil child movie that got really solid reviews when it opened in the cinemas earlier this year. So I was kind of expecting more from it. It's about a serial killer who's shot dead at the exact same time that this baby boy is born, and the spirit of the serial killer sort of possesses the young boy. And as he grows up, the 2 spirits are fighting within the one body until one becomes dominant, and so that hence the evil child sort of comes out in the storyline. And it's not unlike things like The Omen or Orphan from a few years ago. And it takes some unexpected twists and turns, especially towards the end. I was quite surprised about where it went to. But overall, it was very generic, very cookie cutter. But it's definitely worth a watch. But I was kind of disappointed because I was expecting more based on the reviews it got when it opened in cinemas. I think it was February or March. I don't know if anyone else has seen The Prodigy.
I mentioned it. I think I mentioned. I'm not sure if I did, but I have seen it.
You did mention it, I think.
Yeah, and I liked it more than you. I think I thought it was it was less cookie cutter than I was expecting, because it's like something like Curse of La Llorona, which I saw recently, which was so bland and so kind of, it was just by the numbers, Conjuring universe. Actually, I thought The Prodigy had some twists and turns in it that actually lifted it. It actually made me sit up and take notice of it rather than it just wash over me, which is a lot of new horror movies do.
Okay, well, the other one I saw was the new Pet Sematary. And this one I was expecting nothing from, because I'm probably one of the few people who doesn't really enjoy the 1989 film version of the film at all. And I thought this, I'm going to get crucified for this. I thought this remake was a huge improvement, to be honest. I've never read the source novel, so I don't know which one is closer to Stephen King's book. But this one has a few major differences to the 1989 film, which I think improves it. Probably more of a sense of fun. It's more popcorn, although it does have a very sort of dark center to the storyline, as we know. The best thing about the 1989 version was that scary bedridden sister that was done in flashbacks, and that's done equally creepy in this one as well. And the turning point of the movie, the road accident that sort of sets up all the horror, is really well done in this. I thought it was really suspenseful, and it also manages to throw a curveball at the audience as well, for those who are familiar with the 1989 film. So I really enjoyed this reboot of Pet Sematary. Again, I was expecting nothing from it, and I think this is a huge part of how I enjoy these. Has anyone seen it yet?
No, I have a problem with the original Pet Sematary, because and I think they probably do the same in this new movie. It's like, why would this family buy this house, with a very small yard next to this road where a lot of traffic is, and they have little kids? It's like, do they not go to the realtor and say, well, we like the house, but it has no curb appeal, so we're not going to take it? No, they just take it, and then their kid gets killed. So, they had it coming. I don't really care much for the original Pet Sematary. I think it's too dour and downbeat. And the guy, I think his name's Dale Midkiff. He plays the main father. Oh my God, he's a bad actor.
He's really hot, though.
Very hot.
Oh, Nathan, you're so shallow.
Well, just being honest.
You wouldn't see me watching movies just because somebody was hot in it.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you love all of Bob Hoskins' films.
Yeah, well, that's because it's just coincidentally they're all good movies. Especially the one where he has the heart attack.
Oh, Critical Condition?
Heart Condition.
Yeah, Heart Condition. Yeah, with Denzel Washington.
Yeah. Hilarious. It's the best comedy ever.
Get your big, fat, extra crispy buffalo chicken Pepsi Cola drinking ass out of bed.
See?
I remember that movie.
Best film ever, yeah. If Bob Hoskins was in a bad movie, I'd be the first one to say it's a bad movie. It just still happens he wasn't in any bad movies. So.
Super Mario Brothers?
Yeah, awesome movie.
Well, back to Pet Sematary. I saw it because it's by the director of Starry Eyes, isn't it? Which I really, really liked. I really liked Starry Eyes. And before I watched it, they kind of said that it had like a Wicker Man vibe, and I wasn't kind of totally sold on this iconography or the kind of thing of all the children wearing animal masks and things like that.
Yeah.
But what I liked about it, because I'm old enough to have actually seen the original Pet Sematary at the cinema back in 1989 or whenever it was released in the UK.
Yes.
So
I think we all are, aren't we?
Probably.
It came out in like 89 or 90, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I saw it in the cinema.
Yeah. But
I was born in 99, so...
But what I liked about it was that, and I have read the book, I'm pretty sure I read the book as well, is that it starts off as a very faithful retelling of the original source novel, and then the way kind of at the halfway mark or around the halfway mark or sort of a third of the way in or so, it suddenly veers off in different directions, and there's lots of different things happening in the ending. The last part, it kind of stays true to the idea of the novel, but it kind of goes off in different directions. And I thought it was, I was surprised actually how much I enjoyed it by the end of it. I still think,
in the trailers, it had those creepy kids with the animal masks on, and I thought again it was. Like you were saying, it was going to have a Wicker Man vibe, but that doesn't really materialize in the movie at all.
No, I know. So, although I do remember, I think the original had more of a shock impact, but maybe that was when I saw it at the cinema, especially with the kids and the old man. What's his name? Gwyn something.
Fred Gwyn.
Fred Gwyn.
Fred Gwyn, yeah.
Being stalked in his.
I'll go down
that
rod.
Yeah.
That's not a good rod to drive down.
Y'all.
So, anything else? Anything else, Erik?
No. My other viewing. I was telling this to Joseph. I bought a movie by accident. Arrow were doing a 2-for-1 deal, and I wanted to get their new version of The Sender, which is a movie I like from 1982, and the one I wanted to get free with it was one called DEFCON 4, because I thought I liked it. It turns out I'd never seen DEFCON 4 in my life. I was mistaking it for a film called Warning Sign from 1985. This is DEFCON 4 from 1985 as well, but it's this really, really drab and boring Canadian post-apocalyptic movie. And so I bought it by accident. I don't think I've ever done that before in my life, but first time for everything.
Yeah, I saw that many, many years ago, but I remember nothing about it.
It's got Lenore Zahn. Is that how you say her name? From
Lenora Zahn.
Lenore Zahn from is it Happy Birthday to Me? Yeah, she's in.
Yeah. And Visiting Hours she was in as well, wasn't she? Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you, Erik. Just to rattle through a few that I've seen. I was flicking through Netflix, and this film that I'd seen a number of times pop up, and I hadn't watched it, and I just thought I was just in the mood for something mindless. So it's from 2016. The film Satanic, which stars is kind of a vehicle for Sarah Hyland, who was in Modern Family, and it's a fairly basic story about a group for 20-somethings who go to Los Angeles and do the dark side tour of Los Angeles. They go to the Manson, the Cecilia Drive where Sharon Tate was killed, and they go to various places in Hollywood where bad things have happened, and they visit an occult shop and essentially get caught up with Satanists. And it's very much in the vein of those, like A Million and One Other sort of fairly generic kind of sort of films from the last last 5-10 years or so of teenagers mixing with Satanism and Ouija boards and all that kind of thing. But it has its moments, and it has a kind of quite a good sort of twist. Has anyone seen that?
I've never heard of it.
Me either.
Well, that's why
I am looking at it on IMDb though, Justin, and lead actor Steven Kruger, I think, might appeal to Nathan in the same way that Pet Sematary does. Let me just say that.
Okay. Well, it's worth a watch anyway.
Well, I'm going to look it up.
Yeah.
Okay. A couple of other ones. I saw another film that's been on my radar, which I've not watched, is the Marrowbone, or The Secret of Marrowbone, which is I'm not sure if it's a British movie or not, but it's one set. I think it's sort of set in the early 1970s about a mother and her children who moved back to America, where she's from, to escape her husband, who is in prison, but he was a serial killer, and so they moved back to a family home, but they have to keep out of the way of people because they were definitely afraid that the past about the father's misdeeds will come out, and it turns out that he's escaped from prison and is coming after them. It sounds more of a kind of a gothic shock horror movie than it actually perhaps is, but it's more of a kind of perhaps more of a ghost movie. It's got Anna Taylor-Joy, who was in The Witch, and George McKay, and also Charlie Heaton, who's in Stranger Things. So it's a film that's been on my radar. I think what year was it? 2017. So it's a couple of years old. Anyone seen that?
No.
Again, one I've never heard of.
Well, there you go. So I'm doing my public service announcement. Now, one you probably have heard of, I'm sure probably you won't, but in a completely different direction, I kind of decided to have a Nathan myself evening and decided to watch a David Dakota film. And
God.
So I ended up watching, because I think didn't he do Final Stab back in the early 2000s? Yeah, but there was another film.
Like that one, actually. It's
I seem to remember. I haven't seen it for years, but I remember it not being too bad for like those kind of post-Scream kind of rip-offs. Now, this one was because I'd heard about these films and I thought, well, I hadn't seen any of them. I knew they'd be dreadful, but I thought I'd give it a go. And it was Brotherhood 5, the Alumni, I think.
Wow, what a title to start on for his filmography.
Justin, why did you not start with Brotherhood 1?
Well, because this was a slasher. And I think the others aren't slashers; they're like vampires and werewolves and ghosts and all sorts of things. So, and well, how can I put it? Well, basically, the story is about a group of a prom night. A young man gets murdered in the showers after taking most of his clothes off, which I think is a kind of David Dakota kind of staple. And then a year later, the 5 or 6 friends go back for a reunion, and they go back to the high school which has been shut down, and no one's there. So far, kind of slaughter high, I kind of guess. But it's I don't know how. I'm sure there are fans of his movies, but it just feels like I've seen people accuse people like of making films like products, but this film there's like no passion behind it whatsoever. It's just plodding through 90 minutes to get to a very rather bored-looking actors and actresses, and half of them who can't act. And then you get like 5 minutes of kind of softcore or just shower scenes of, usually young men showering. And then the first 10 minutes of the movie is the slowest stalking scene I've ever seen in my life. It's just it's just intercut with somebody getting changed in a locker room with somebody walking down corridor holding a knife for 10 minutes. It's just like stretching out the running time to ad infinitum. So it wasn't. I'm sure that he has his fans, and I have seen some of the Puppet Master movies, and I quite enjoyed those. And I know the kind of we covered, didn't we? Sorority Girls.
Say it, Justin.
Sorority Girls and the Slime Bowler-Armor.
Well, what's interesting about David Dakota is his early, like his 80s output is actually fairly good. Did he do the movie, was it Reeker?
I know he did Creepazoids.
Or he did like one called Reeker or Shrieker. It was like a slasher movie with a monster. It was actually pretty good. Shrieker, yeah, it's actually pretty good. A lot of his 80s stuff is not bad, but when he gets into the mid to late 90s and the early noughties, all he really cares about is just following around naked guys. I mean, there's no story, no suspense or anything in his movies. They're all just pretty much softcore, gay porn, if I'm honest.
Yeah, well, they're not even very excited. I mean, there's nothing. It just seems like somebody who's a filmmaker who's bored himself. They're not. So I'm sure there is an audience for them. But I've sated my curiosity, but I can't see I'm going to be going back for any more. So I won't be watching parts 1 to 455 of the Brotherhood series, I don't think.
Ooh, will you be delving into the back catalogue of John McBride, I wonder?
Well, that remains to be seen, doesn't it? So I think, that brings us neatly onto our feature presentation.
Cannibal Campout is the tender and terrifying tale of a band of man-eating maniacs. Desperate to survive, the deranged orphans honor a deathbed promise to dearly departed mother never to eat junk food again. Instead, they work up frenzied appetites that will only be satisfied by the taste of young flesh. When Amy and her college friends arrive for a fun-filled weekend of camping in the desolate wilderness, they quickly learn the horrors of being on the wrong end of the food chain. Only brutal murder, torture, and mutilation await as one by one they are stalked and terrorized by this brood of bloodthirsty mountain dwellers who will stop at nothing to appease their hunger for sliced, diced, and barbecued campers. So Cannibal Campout was one of those ones that just had fantastic artwork for the video store. I mean, I can picture young, 10-year-old me seeing this in the video store. Looks like image of a girl on the ground with a cannibal on top of her, tearing her neck apart. And of course, the young kid in me is like, I've got to see this. And then, I watched it, and I loved it because as a kid, it just delivered on the gore, which is pretty much what I was wanting at the time. Stripes, I'm talking on the podcast, not to you. But no, I think that it's a great film on an entertainment level for me. I really can tell that John McBride, he did almost everything on this film. He put a lot into this film. It took place over so many weekends, and just the amount of effort. Because I have a bigger appreciation since Joseph and I made a film too. It is really hard work, especially when you've got no money. So just the fact that he was able to do this, back in the late 80s with very limited resources, I think is really awesome. The acting is definitely not the greatest, but they're trying. I'm pretty sure. But I did love the scene where the cannibals, they run across the cannibals in the beginning. They have a little road rage incident, and the one cannibal telling the blonde girl, Carrie, in the movie, he's like, how would you like me to staple your tits to the roof? I'm like, that's a new one to me. It's just like the most random, oddest comment to say, but his character is really over the top and ridiculous too, which is probably why, spoiler alert, he gets eaten in the end because even his cannibal brothers think he's annoying. I love that Joe put this in the intro, and I loved Chris, one of the guys in the movie, as he's tied up, is screaming at the cannibal, "You're dead! I'll kill you! You're dead!" And the cannibal's basically got a machete and like going towards his neck with it. And I'm like, this is a very odd thing to be saying to somebody who's pretty much about to kill you. But in any case, I just think it's a fun, ridiculous, shot on video film. I think John McBride's heart's in the right place, and I think that he made a fun little film. And I like shot on video. I'd be hard pressed to find a shot on video movie that I don't like, to be honest. I just find them very entertaining.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I was thinking. So what do you think, Eric?
Well, I don't think anything was going to prepare me for the heart-stopping terror and suspense of this based on a true story horror masterpiece.
Oh, yeah.
In fairness, though, in the grand scheme of shot-on-video horror, and as I said, I'm not an expert, I haven't seen a whole lot of this type of stuff, this one is actually quite what? Oh, Nathan, is that a threat?
No, it's like a reward.
Okay, Cannibal Campout is watchable enough. It's certainly a step above Crazy Fat Ethel Part 2, sorry Nathan, and Axum and Hollywood's New Blood, which were forced upon us by forces outside of the Nathan universe. I know that, Nathan, you can't be blamed for them.
Thank you.
Okay, for starters, it opens with that awesome piece of electropop whilst on screen this woman is jogging and she has a headband and leg warmers and an enormous Walkman. And this is the music that plays, which I think is awesome. Boogie. See, that's awesome. And I'm on board with that bit. But then the rest of the score, which plays quite a lot, particularly in the first half of the film, sounds a bit like this. A bit like a Susie and the Banshees B-side. Yeah, Nate, Justin? That is kind of Susie and the Banshees, isn't it? Dear Prudence. No? Anyway, on to so that's the score, which is done on like a Bontempi keyboard. I don't know if you have Bontempi keyboards in the States, but they're the kind of ones you get in the the 99-cent store. I love the fact that even by the standards of Hollywood and American movies, that the high school students in this one all look way too old. Particularly John McBride, the director who stars in this, his character's name is John, isn't it? As well.
Yeah.
He looks like he does not look like a high school. I presume they're high school and not university students. I'm not sure, but they all look a bit too old. And then, speaking of awful music, when I was speaking about Susie, we get this lovely sing-song as they make their way to the camp.
If my brains were turning mushy, would you want me? If I burned up in a fire, would you guess?
Ooh, ouch.
If I swallowed nitric acid, would you help me? Or would you just think that I possess no class?
Oh dear, I think they're going for like an Evil Dead type vibe where the kids are singing the song on the way to the cabin. But I don't know if I could listen to much more of that. It's not exactly Young, Cool and Groovy from that Australian one. Like Houseboat Horror, that's it. I like the fact that the director mentions this on the extras on the disc, that the thing about the cast is that they all look normal. They don't look like Hollywood starlets, and they certainly don't act like them either, which is, you can't expect Meryl Streep and Kevin Bacon or all that in a shot and video horror, but they all look kind of nerdy as well. They look like they much prefer an old trip to the library than go scooting around on a skateboard or get it on in the woods. These couples. I do like that joke of the week they come up with. It's not as good as one of my jokes of the week, but what's the difference between an enzyme and a hormone? I hadn't heard this joke before. You can't hear an enzyme. Which makes me want to play this. So I thought that was funny, and I'm kind of on board with the film for the first half hour. Then when the cannibals are introduced, I'm kind of like, I'm not into these crazy cannibal family type movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and that. I much prefer slasher. I'm not sure I'm into the look of one of the cannibals who has kind of an Air Force helmet on to mask his visage, which is kind of Freddy-ized, or there's some kind of deformity we see when he's unmasked at the end. But I mean, there's nothing terribly threatening about them, and I know it's supposed to be a comedy, and the comedy that involves the cannibals doesn't work for me. I find it a bit too shrill. Particularly the guy who keeps saying it's a small world, it's a small world, it's a small world, over and over and over again. I find that a bit too much for me to take. But anytime it's focusing on the kids in the woods, I thought it was perfectly fine and quite watchable. And then, as you said, Nathan, when the gore kicks in, it's actually quite good. The gore is quite effective. I mean, it's quite low rent, but I mean, they do a lot of gags involving kind of a machete with sort of a cutout section that they hold up to people's throats and up to their heads, like Tom Savini did a lot particularly in something like Dawn of the Dead. And it's done really effectively, and the blood is realistic, and it's over the top 80s gore, which is keeping the film always interesting, particularly in that final 20 minutes and half hour. The film is about nearly 90 minutes. Is it, Nathan?
I think so. I mean, I know that it's pretty much feature length. I mean,
let me just have a look here.
It's like 82 minutes minus the credits.
87. 82 minus the credits. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, it's because normally a lot of these shot on movie videos, they can often maybe just hit the hour mark and then stop. But this one, they have ambitions to make it feature length, which I admire. The woodsy setting I like as well. And as I said, it's so much better than some of the other shot and video stuff we've endured over the while. Axum and Hollywood's New Blood were just horrendous movies, absolutely horrendous, but no redeeming features. There's one moment in this that's quite notorious. It riffs on something quite notorious, which is the pregnant woman being mutilated, I suppose, which is taken from Anthropophagus. Although listening to the commentary track on the DVD, I don't think the director was aware of Anthropophagus at the time, so it's just maybe a coincidence that it has sort of a scene very similar to that in this. So, yes, far more watchable than I thought it would be, Nathan. It's not something I would return to very often, but I didn't hate the film. These shot and video ones really probably aren't my cup of tea. But I was surprised I was able to sit and sit through this and think it was okay. I could have done maybe with, as I said, removing the cannibal family and maybe replacing it with a masked silent killer instead, and I think it would have worked really well. And it would have been quite much more Friday the 13th-ish, I think. But considering that they spent tuppence halfpenny on the film and the special effects and the actors and all that, I find it far more entertaining than the mega budget $200 million movie Godzilla King of the Monsters, which I was complaining about on the last episode. And if I had a choice between watching either one again, it would definitely be Cannibal Campout. So there we go. So yeah, not brilliant, but not awful either.
Okay, I'll take that. What about you, Joseph?
Well, I'd seen this with you around the first time we had met, and I seem to recall liking it. And as far as shit on video, Cannibal Campout is it's not as bad as, like Erik said, it's not as bad as some of the stuff that we've been forced to watch. But I think my problem with this movie is that the humor is so forced and shrill, like Erik said. It's not something like Boarding House where everything is hilarious unintentionally. They try to make jokes here and they just kind of fall flat, sort of like Erik,
Hey.
But I do like the kind of passion that John McBride has. I mean, he does a lot of good stuff, with the budget. Like, there's some decent camera angles. The story's pretty linear. There's not a lot of sitting around just kind of trying to fill time. So, and it's shortened to the point. So I didn't hate the film, but it's just I don't know. I don't really care much for these shot on video movies. I mean, I don't know what it is, but the cheapness is just off-putting for some reason. I know that sounds snobby and all, but I just don't really care much for them. Now, I did like the ending to this film, because that one cannibal is just so annoying to the whole movie, and you're like, please kill him. Just let even if the other two cannibals live and they kill everybody, at least kill him. And I'm so glad that they got to the end of the film and we're like, you know what, we're hungry. This guy's annoying. Let's just go ahead and kill him, even though, he is our brother. We're going to kill him anyway. So I was cheering for that. I do love the scene. There's a lot of exposition in this film. Like, you've never heard of Redston? Well, they say there's been a lot of murders up there, and then 2 minutes earlier they were complaining about Redston, people being found murdered, and then later on they're like, well, I've never heard of it. And then there's the one scene where the cannibals are like, hey, this will be great. This will be just like that girl we killed about 2 weeks ago. You remember that? Yeah, we had a great time killing her. And then they flash back to the kill scene. They have all this exposition, and then they show us the flashback. It's just it's ludicrous. Cannibal Campout, like I said, is not as bad as something like Hollywood's New Blood or Axum, like Erik has said. But it's not as, audaciously weird and out there like Boarding House. Something like Boarding House I could go back and watch over and over because it's just it's so unintentionally funny. Whereas here, I just felt like it was almost like Laurel and Hardy were resurrected and put into a no budget horror film, and it just didn't really work all that well. But still, as far as shot on video films go, I'm going to give it a marginal thumbs up. As far as it being a movie, not a shot on video movie, I couldn't recommend it, if that makes any sense. But you've picked worse, Nathan.
Okay.
High praise.
Justin, you have not reviewed this on the Hysteria Lives, so please feel free to give me your 5-star review now.
Okay, well, when I do my notes, I normally do review and then background, and my review is 3 lines long, and it is, I'll read it verbatim. It says, has a demented charm, music not actually bad, Carrie looks like Tan Mom. So that's my review of Cannibal Campout. Tan Mom. Do you remember Tan Mom?
No.
She was internet famous briefly for about 5 seconds. She was a middle-aged lady who was very tanned and she kept on getting drunk and falling over and was internet famous for 5 minutes.
I must have a look.
Yes, well, look up Tan Mom and see if you agree. But to be serious, I mean, it does have a charm to it. It reminds me of and the long lost to the ages is that I did get together with a group of friends back in the early 90s, I think, and we shot on video a kind of murder mystery sort of come slasher type movie at a house party once, which I don't think was ever finished. It wasn't even meant to. It was just a spur of the moment thing. No idea what ever happened to that. But it's the idea is there's a group of friends go to the woods and make a horror movie, and it has a certain energy to it that you would expect from something like that. And surprisingly, it hasn't really got a professionalism, but it's certainly it's not a shit show. It does have but it gets by on its kind of charm, and there's enough technical prowess behind the camera, behind a camcorder, for it to sort of pass by. I think for me, the problem, I think possibly with Joseph kind of hit it on the head. I'm not a great fan of these shot on video late 80s horror movies. I think it's partly an age thing. I think because you're a bit younger, Nathan, and I think it's more to do with the fact that when growing up I saw a lot of the kind of classic, classics, not so classic, but the shot on film, early 80s slashers, and including like the film I'm going to pick at the end of this podcast for next time, which it's going to be an interesting one to discuss. But it's not a good movie, but it's a shot on film, has a certain sense of kind of professionalism about it, and whereas this has a more of a home movie feel to it. And it feels like it was an age that passed me by, really. I mean, this film, as far as I'm aware, never got a release in the UK. Neither did Wood Chipper Massacre, certainly not on video. So I'm just kind of, I enjoy it for what it is. I found it fun. I didn't hate the characters. I thought the characters fun, apart from, I agree that one of the brothers is quite annoying, but I think that was his job. He was trying to do, it's kind of riffing off, I kind of guess, the characters from Mother's Day, wasn't it? That type of feel. But also the other thing with the shot on video late 80s stuff is that there's a sense that the filmmakers making it, the people making it, have been there and seen everything. There's no, it's innocence isn't the right word, but it's kind of postmodern in so much it's taking the piss out of the conventions, whereas a film like we mentioned before, like Boarding House, is so fun because I think they were trying to make a good movie, or they were making a not necessarily a good movie, but it's some of its where it falls down is actually part of its charm. Whereas sometimes I think some of these movies were done, it's kind of so in-jokey that it isn't actually that funny. But having said that, I think overall it's certainly watchable, and I think there are a lot worse shot on video films out there. So it's not a 5-star review from me, Nathan, I'm afraid, but I think you have picked worse.
Yeah, and I was thinking, like what Joseph was mentioning, is there's so much like exposition, and to me, I think one thing that John McBride did well is in a lot of these movies, the shot on video movies, the filmmakers pad the running time. And a lot of times they pad it with just stuff that, many people are going to find very boring. But I like that John McBride is going to pad the running time with, let me just throw in an extra murder to pad the running time. So I think he really tried his best to keep the momentum going instead of it feeling like it's just trotting along. So, I mean, I thought he did better than a lot of other shot on video filmmakers I've seen, myself included.
Well, you were talking.
Your movies had the luxury of being like 2 minutes long.
True.
Yes. Yes. Well, you were saying, weren't you? Because, I mean, you found inspiration in these movies, didn't you? And I think it was one of the things, before we get into some background, I haven't got a massive amount of background, but one of the things we were going to discuss briefly, just in passing, is this kind of shot on video late 80s horror. But I think John McBride was saying that the legacy of his movie, and I'm sure he's well aware of the shortcomings of it, was the fact is he wants it to be remembered for the fact that it had a kind of punk ethos, punk DIY ethos of kind of anyone can do it, and so anyone can go and get a camcorder and make a horror movie or any kind of movie. So he was very pleased that it was kind of inspired people to go out and be creative, and make art in the kind of John Waters sense of the word. Sort of not fine art, but sort of trash art. And again, that's not to downplay or say anything negative about it, but to actually to go out there and shoot something. So is that what you would say that you were is one part of your inspiration, Nathan?
Exactly. It was mainly the idea that somebody just took a camcorder and they got their friends together and just made a movie. And when I was a kid, I had seen like the behind the scenes. I don't know if you guys remember, but on VHS, Paramount came out with this like Tom Savini mini documentary, and I had rented it, and it was kind of showing like a lot of behind the scenes work that Tom Savini had done, and a lot of it was showing, like how he would take the machetes and like you guys were saying earlier, cut like a part out so it looks like they're being like cut with it or something like that, and I was thinking I could do that. Obviously for my films, I didn't, because most of my death scenes are a knife in camera view going out of camera view and the end. But I just thought to myself that I think I could make one like Cannibal Campout.
Your approach was more subtle.
Yeah, I was going for art. It was very high art. So I think in general, and this was always my favorite shot on video. I've always found it to be a lot of fun. And I've talked to John McBride through email, and he's just a super nice guy. So, and it helps, when a filmmaker doesn't take their own movie that seriously.
Cool. As far as the late 80s thing of the shot on video, I'm trying to think, Erik, can you think of any shot on video films that were put out on tape in the UK in the late 80s?
I don't recall.
No, I don't either. We talked about
Does Sledgehammer get a release over there?
Not that I'm aware of. Sledgehammer and Boarding House were two early ones, weren't they? But I remember, because obviously back then I was buying Fangoria religiously, and I remember the adverts for Blood Cult were saying it was the first shot on video horror movie, which wasn't true, but it was kind of just kind of some ballyhoo for that. So, but that kind of opened the floodgates, really, didn't it? I kind of guess when the technology became, because certainly you could go out and do it like an Andy Milligan style thing and shoot on 16mm and all that kind of thing, but the camcorder really did open it up for people to go out and much less expensively produce movies. Which is a good thing, but is also, there's certainly now with this, this kind of return to analog, isn't there? I saw a documentary last year about the cassette tape, and about how you have people selling cassettes at gigs now, and you have kind of conventions where people go and sell and buy tapes and all these kind of things. And to somebody who lived through a Walkman slowing down and chewing up a tape and then having to use a pencil to wind it all back, it just seems a bit ridiculous. But there's certainly like a nostalgia, isn't there? Which is why I think it's only in the last couple of years, really, isn't it, that these films like Wood Chipper Massacre and Cannibal Campout have been released on Blu-ray, isn't it? Which seems slightly bizarre, doesn't it? Because the copy I was watching, which I think was from the was the Blu-ray, was that it still has a tracking problem at the bottom of the film.
One thing I'll say about Cannibal Campout is that, like you were saying, Justin, with the camcorder, people like John McBride had the autonomy to go out into their backyard and shoot a film. And, for what he did, I enjoyed the movie, and I think it had a lot of charm and, a likability to it. Whereas something today, you could get a digital camera fairly cheap. Even an iPhone you can shoot a film on. People can do the exact same thing as John McBride, and yet they don't really capture any kind of magic or, intentional or unintentional. It's usually just kind of by the numbers, bland, vanilla crap. And, at least John McBride's film had some passion. Times and technology have changed, but I think, for the better. But I think what hasn't changed for the better is that a lot of these people don't really have the heart or the charm to make a movie, on the cheap like they did back in the 80s. So, for that, I'd say a lot of these shot on video films are a little more watchable than some of the crap that comes out.
Agreed.
I mean, I agree with that, but that wouldn't be a shock to anybody because I love these movies. And I think that Justin made a really good point that when I was a kid and getting into horror, like these were the new releases. There's something new coming out every week that I loved. And so I guess maybe it's a nostalgia thing for me too. And maybe it's just because I like these kind of movies just in general. I mean, all the people the campers did actually seem to be friends. Like, they actually got along. It wasn't, a case of where they were all mad at each other. Now, Amy was a bit moody in the beginning, but we find out why. So, she kind of chills later on until the cannibalism starts, and then she's not as chill.
Did you find it a little shocking that, I thought that she would be the final girl, and she's poised to be, for the last part of the film, but then they kill her and eat her child. I didn't see that one coming, actually.
Well, and I think that some people have said they thought that was kind of mean-spirited as far as in the vein of this movie. But to me, it's just so cheesy and ridiculous and over the top that I can't even take that seriously. I mean, it's because it's just so ridiculous. But I was shocked the first time I watched it and she died. I didn't quite expect it. What about you, Justin and Eric?
No, I did think it was
unexpected. Yeah.
Yes, it was unexpected. You expect a final girl, don't you? You don't expect her to have a fetus ripped out.
No.
They wouldn't do that to Jamie Lee Curtis.
Let's hope not. No.
I mean, horses have a hard enough time giving birth as it is.
You stop it.
Yes. And Eric, you stop it.
And Justin, you stop it as well.
Yes.
Stop what? Everybody stop it right now.
It's a hammer time. I think maybe it's
throws string like nobody's business. So to me, like she wouldn't have even died if in part two. I think that she probably had some string handy.
Yeah,
but if only she had a kind of a bundle of string or what they call spindle of string.
Well, she did, and I thought this was kind of hilarious just watching it, where she picks up this like frame of a bookshelf and like throws it on the killer and it like topples him over. But I'm like, it looks like it weighs nothing.
Did it inspire the shoe rack?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there is, in Evil Dead, there's a scene where Ash gets trapped underneath a fairly light-looking bookcase, and he's trapped under there for ages as the zombie is approaching him. And I've always wondered, he can easily get out of that situation, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think any of us could, right?
I think so. I'd like to think so.
What did you guys think of the big reveal when, she finally rips the mask off of the masked guy and he's wearing a Halloween mask?
I feel like that poor actor, he just kind of got roped into being in this backyard horror film and he didn't even get any lines or anything. And he's just like, well, your job is to wear a mask through the whole film and, act goofy.
He's a special effects guy as well.
Yeah, he's the guy that does all the special effects.
Was it meant to be a mask, or was it meant to be because it said in the write-up I saw that it was 3 mutant cannibal brothers, and only one of them.
I assumed it was meant to be his face.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be his face. I just said mask because that's what it looks like.
But why do you reckon he looked like that and the others didn't?
Well, the one guy, his mutilation was obviously of the brain. And the last guy was of the face. And I don't know how the first one got out of it, but somehow he did.
Yeah.
Mutilations of the Brain sounds like a good video nasty from 1981 or something. I think.
Yeah, it does.
Or a sort of black metal album.
I figured Cannibal Campout is a movie that, Justin and I would like a little more because these killers are adamant about not eating cheeseburgers. I mean, they're eating people, but, they're not killing cows or anything. So I give them a little props for that.
That is true. Very forward thinking. Although they seem to get very
cows are wonderful animals. Leave them alone.
Yeah,
just kill people and eat them, right?
But
yeah, I'd sooner kill a person than I would a cow, actually.
Yeah. But isn't it weird that why are they so hungry at the end? Because they've just killed about 4 or 5 people.
I think it's supposed to be a passage of time because and then they're like, oh well, we they kind of went crazy and started eating and they didn't conserve. So I think that was their argument that they didn't conserve like they were supposed to, and that's why they turned on their brother.
I did like the Michael Myers mask with a wig. Did you catch that?
Oh, yep.
There's little nods.
I actually really liked the scene where the one guy was in the like broke down house or whatever it was, and the killer comes up through the floor behind him.
It was a bit Hell Night, wasn't it?
Yeah, but they did it more as a jump scare, although the jump scares in this film didn't really work on me, but I still thought it was really fun, kind of cool.
I like how I can't remember her name, the blonde girl. Was it Katie or Carrie? Yeah. I like how she wanders off to have a cigarette, and this actress obviously doesn't smoke. It's just an excuse just to get her, alone somewhere.
Yeah, no. It's all good.
No, I mean, yeah.
We're stretching a bit now.
We're at a loss of words to what else we could say about Cannibal Campout.
Well, how about, I think it's time for...
It's my joke of the week. It's so fantastic.
Why are the villains in this movie so good at being influencers on Instagram? Because those cannibals can pout. They can pout. Like influencers do when they're...
It's not can pout, it's camp out. M, not N.
But Eric, I can see what you're doing there, Eric.
My humor is too sophisticated for you.
I like the avant-gardeness of your joke, but I don't.
It wasn't avant-garde. It was a very mainstream joke.
It's very, 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 very meta.
Very
almost.
meta, yes. Well, the thing is, I know Eric's got a man come around to fix his pipes later, so we do need to push on past that joke.
Did we even get into background information? I don't think we did.
I have a small bit.
Yes, well, let's do some background now.
Background. I actually don't have any except John McBride. I talked to him once. I think Nathan's probably talked to him more often. But apparently he was going to do a sequel to Cannibal Campout, but he got literally, I think in his email he said, I got distracted, and he never did it. So that's all the background I have. So anyone else?
Thank you, Joseph. What about you, Eric?
Okay, well, I have. It was shot around the New York State and Connecticut area, on and off for about 6 months, mainly weekends they were shooting, as is the case with a production of this nature. John McBride's initial plan was to film a script he'd written called Bachelor Gore Party, but the logistics of it would have been too expensive. So Cannibal Campout was kind of an interim film they were going to make, with the hopes of eventually getting to Bachelor Gore Party, which I don't think was ever made in the end, was it, Nathan? Are you familiar with a film called Bachelor Gore Party?
No, I don't think that one was ever made.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever made.
I would have known, surely.
Surely you would, yeah. The guy Ray, he's the prankster. He's the guy who is in that scene with the Hell Night scare that Justin was saying. That guy, he apparently was in the cinema one night in an audience for one of the Friday the 13th movies. I'm guessing possibly Part 7, which was released in 1988. But he was sitting behind John McBride, who was also at the cinema, and he overheard them talking about this film they were going to be making called Cannibal Campout. And Ray intervened and said, listen, I'm a big horror fan, and if you want anyone to be in the movie or to help out, then could you give me a call? And that's how he got the role in the movie. Do I have anything else? Oh, yeah, the guy Christopher, who is the kind of nerdy guy with the glasses, the father of the child that gets killed at the end. He was initially assigned to do the soundtrack for the movie, so he's responsible for that awesome Bon Tempi keyboard soundtrack, and possibly wrote that song about nitric acid or whatever it was. Was it?
I like that song, by the way. I think it's very catchy.
Do you know what? In the intro, you played a kind of a properly recorded version of that. Does that play out over the end credits? Because I think I switched off as the end credits rolled, so I didn't know that there was actually a proper version of the song later in the film.
Yeah, the full version is what we're going to be playing out with, by the way.
Oh, awesome! So yeah, he was assigned to do the soundtrack, but then the actor that was supposed to play that role backed out at the last minute, so he ended up in front of the camera as well as behind the camera. So that's, I think, all the background I garnered from that. And apart from, of course, as we mentioned, the cannibal who's in the helmet is the FX guy as well. So Nathan, over to you.
Over to me. John McBride had shared a story that I thought was kind of amusing about the filming of Cannibal Campout, where It was at the end when the mutant cannibal with the black Air Force whatever helmet on. That it was in the chase scene where he's chasing Amy with the machete, and there was a shot where they ran over this hill, and apparently a ranger was standing there. And of course, for this ranger who didn't know that this movie was being made, he just sees some woman screaming, running from a guy with a machete. And so he thought, he was like, the look on his face was priceless. He's like, but at the time I was terrified that he was about to pull out his gun and shoot one of our actors. But I mean, Erik got, the rest of the trivia, the ones that I know. That was just an anecdote that he had shared with me on this, or on it. I know that Cannibal Campout was filmed over the course of many weekends, and the co-director who worked behind the scenes had also mentioned that he recalled that by the end they had 2 6-hour VHS tapes full of stuff to go through. So that probably took a long time editing.
Imagine there could be like a special 3-hour version of this film out there, like there was with Boarding House.
It's going to be a special. There's going to be a special 3-hour version of this show.
Well, I've got a couple of little bits. I think you covered most of it. One thing, I was looking up some of the actors, and there's the actor Richard Marcus is down as playing Rich, or playing one of the cannibals. But I thought, I was trying to work out if that was correct.
He's the annoying cannibal.
He is the annoying cannibal. Yeah, but because he was in... he went on to be in Tremors, and he was in a TV movie this year in 1998 called Jesse, and also an episode of Jake and the Fat Man. So it seemed to be a bit unusual that he would suddenly be in this low budget movie. But he was also in...
No, I've seen Tremors like a million times. I wonder who he was in that movie. I don't remember.
He was also in Deadly Friend in 1986 as Harry Pringle. He was in Enemy Mine and also The Being from 1983. So yeah,
I wonder if it's the same guy.
Yeah, I did wonder that. He looks his picture on the IMDb, but it says he was born in 1945, which would made him 43 when he made this, and I don't think it can be the same.
I don't know.
No,
that guy looked kind of young.
He did look kind of young. So the only other thing that I've got was this. It not made me laugh, but I kind of liked the director's chutzpah about the fact that when who put it out on Blu-ray? Was it? It was Retro Movies or something. Anyway, but there was a It was when it was put out. There was reviews, obviously, on the DVD sites, and on one of them, like DVD Net or one of the review sites, they basically called it out and said it was a shit show and blah blah blah, and it was never want to watch it again. And the director got in contact, and to their credit, they actually put underneath his response, and he just sort of said, I don't care if you didn't like my movie. I was surprised as anyone that it's still being talked about today and has a cult following. But the thing that, I'm really proud of, and I mentioned this earlier, but is the fact that the director was proud that people had told him that they'd watched this movie and gone out and made their own movies. And so he said that was its lasting legacy. So even if he didn't like the movie, it had a legacy. It actually helped other people go out and be creative. So that was, so that's all all I've got.
Yeah, if I were John McBride, I would actually be kind of proud of this movie because it really is better than most of the shot-on-video films you'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay. Well, Erik, shall we go on to some feedback? I think you've got a bit of feedback. Well, actually, have you got, Joseph, have you got feedback for from the forums or from Facebook and various social media on this film?
Various indeed. From Facebook, Dave Rendon says, this has to be a Nathan pick. Dave, you are correct. Mitch King says the same thing. Oh my God, this has to be a Nathan pick. Mitch, you are also correct. And he goes on to say, I thought he had some standards. He must be trying to punish you other three for some reason because this one is a steaming shit pickle. That's from Mitch King. Nick Swanson says, not great. I mistakenly bought this instead of Just Before Dawn years ago. My God, how do you mistake this for Just Before Dawn? Derek Bourgeois says, this is definitely a film that's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. As a shot-on-video fan myself, this one is a classic in the genre. Director, writer, actor John McBride, who the same year made the other classic Wood Chipper Massacre, really has the heart of a filmmaker who put everything he had with a do-it-yourself project. As I do a segment on my own podcast, I look at the works of these types of films and always look for one thing in these films, and it's a filmmaker's heart, and it's there in this one, and you can see the cast and crew had fun making the movie. Would I recommend it? Probably not to normal horror fans, but if you're a fan of shot-on-video, do-it-yourself type films, it gets a strong recommend from me. Simon Logan. You know who that guy is, don't you? I think we've mentioned him once or twice before.
Yeah.
Alan Dale. He says, yeah, he's married to Alan Dale. He says, bad acting, bad script, bad editing, bad music, bad fashion. I loved it. To be fair, the gore and makeup effects were actually pretty good, and I actually thought that Rich the Cannibal put in a good, if slightly over-the-top performance. The main negative for me was that the fetus eating scene felt a bit out of place from the tone of the rest of the film, and tipped over into being a bit mean-spirited rather than cheesy. I also loved how many times Gene the Cannibal leapt out from underground to grab his victims. I forgot to mention that. He's like, there's one moment where he's buried. He walks by this girl, or the final girl. She's hiding behind some like boards nailed to like trees, and she sees his feet, and his feet disappear. And then like she gets up like 2 seconds later, and he's nowhere to be seen. He somehow manages to bury himself in the dirt without her hearing or seeing it. I did like that scene. He goes on to say, especially when he gets Amy at the end, somehow managing to conceal himself in the exact spot she is going to walk over. Yeah, that's kind of like Iced with the snowman. He says, thanks for the pick, Nathan. Jenny Hall Cameron says, Nathan, I still love you. I do, really. The cannibal in overalls was really hot. I really did think the pregnant one was going to be a final girl. That really surprised me about what they did. Ew, gross. The Ed Helms in the house scene was actually cool. I don't know what she means by that. I know who Ed Helms is, but I don't know what she means by that. But she says, felt bad for the guy who wore a helmet the whole time. Guess he lost a bet or something. I think they tried to take a stab at making catchphrases, but they just couldn't catch on. The "It's a small world" line, I'm like, okay, I get it. Or the Gumby line, all right, okay. Couldn't wait for the blonde chick to die. The cast was very proud of themselves. At the end, they show their names alongside their pictures during key moments of the film, and then they played their credits again. Go cast. For a lot of you, probably your only credit. Hooray for you, Amy Klodzinski. I've had worse times watching movies. It was fun listening to the score, and the fashions were totally rad. The jacket that the guy had on at the beginning was so awesome. Greg Wojcik says, first viewing, thought it was shot on video shit, but have since changed my mind and enjoy it for its shortcomings. Kind of like Eric's lovemaking skills. That's Greg Wojcik, Eric. That's Greg Wojcik.
Well, he can have some string. Whoosh.
Yeah.
That's me throwing
Yeah. So he's the new Simon Logan now. J.W. Durbin says, I tend to watch with Wood Chipper Massacre. These shot-on-video films irritated me in the 80s, but if I learned anything from The Last Slumber Party, it's to give them another chance. Now I'm loving most of the shot-on-video from the era. Tom Burkhead says, I remember it being a hoot. I was less impressed by the director's later Wood Chipper Massacre, however. On the forums, Mr. Palmer says, I didn't like it. Not at all. And that's a shocker. Instagram feedback. Killian H. Gore says, I've never seen it, but now I want to. Media Crypt says it rules. HPC Madden says, oh, heck yeah. Is this the next episode? Love this movie. Spinell Joe, I think that's a play on Joe Spinell, says, so much fun. The Squint one says, at least it has gore in it, unlike Wood Chipper Massacre. Eugene Weaver 9 says, I remember this one from the VHS days, but never got a chance to see it. Depending on your review, guys, I might have to track it down. Is it as good as Sledgehammer? I would say it's better than Sledgehammer. That's kind of faint praise, though. Okay, on Twitter, Jacob says, I have it, and now I'm going to watch it since you guys are covering it. And Geraldo, that's not Geraldo Rivera, by the way, I don't think. He says, it's trash, but the kind of trash I like, enjoyable.
All I know is today's October the 31st. 31 backwards is 13. It's Friday, it's Halloween. It's the 13th anniversary of the lawnmower killings. It's a crazy loose. It's prom night.
Hi, this is Tracy Savage, Debbie from Friday the 13th, Part 3. For the best podcast ever on old slasher movies, be sure you find Hysteria Continues. You will be glad you did. And hey, stay out of Crystal Lake, okay?
Every episode, we celebrate a classic slasher movie, such as Friday the 13th, Halloween, My Bloody Valentine, Happy Birthday to Me, and Crazy Fat Ethel 2. The Hysteria continues, bringing slash with panache since 2011. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and all good podcatchers.
Want to learn more about horror directors? With a lighthearted look at 3 of their movies? Meet fearless podcaster Gore Blimey.
I've been unsettled by bats in the past and startled by parrots, and I've even been known to jump at the odd cockatoo.
Discover horror films that are classics, and others, too.
There's a topless aerobics massacre, an exploding rock singer, cannibals, nude martial arts, a deep-fried prostitute.
But it's not all silliness. You'll get proper movie breakdowns, opinion, and background information, too.
Yep, in the 80s and 90s, Jeff Stryker was huge in gay porn. In every sense.
So if you're a horror film fan, come and check out the Trilogy of Terror podcast at strangeanddeadly.com, or find it on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or on your podcatcher.
One of those people that has a certain charisma and a certain style, and I'm just hoping one day he'll rub off on me.
The Trilogy of Terror podcast, where we try 3 times harder to give you the willies.
Okay, so I have one here from Brian in New Jersey. He says, "Hello, gentlemen. I've been listening for the past few months and love the podcast. I was wondering if you guys would be able to do a review of the 1987 slasher Bloody Movie, also known as Terror Night. It's a vastly underrated movie that never reached its potential due to production issues. The premise is fantastic. A movie star everyone thought to be dead exacts his revenge on a group of teens who wander onto his property. The deaths are inventive. Lance Hayward murders the kids using the same weapons he uses in his movies. They splice footage of his films while he kills the unsuspecting teens. Great movie, and I'm sure you guys can bring a whole group of watchers to this vastly underappreciated film." Bloody Movie, the title rings a bell. I'm not sure if I've seen it. The description sounds kind of like Frightmare, but I'm guessing it's not Frightmare.
No, I saw it under Terror Night a long time ago, and I actually remember it being fairly watchable. So, yeah, we'll probably cover it, I'm sure, at some point.
Nathan, have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's got Michelle Bauer in it.
And?
I really liked it. Now, it's been a long time, and I only remember bits and pieces of it. But, I mean, it's one just a kind of a fun late 80s slasher movie. I mean, it's worth us, watching, I'd say.
Justin, have you seen it?
I have. I think there's a review on the Hysteria Continues, or Hysteria Lives, on it. But it's I'm trying to think if it was. Oh yeah, that's right. It's directed by, or co-directed, uncredited by Andrew Datoff, who directed House of Wax with Vincent Price in 3D in the 50s.
Oh.
So
I'm just sorry. I was just looking at your review on Hysteria Lives, and you gave it 2.5 out of 5.
So kind of mediocre or medium review. But I remember it was a film that wasn't available for a long, long time. So it'd be a fun one to tackle at some point. So thank you for writing in. So okay, well, as I say, Erik does have someone coming around to look at his plumbing. In 15 minutes, so we better sign off. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. And what am I covering next time? Because it's my choice. And
yes, what are you covering?
Yes, what am I covering? Well, I was talking a little bit before we came on air, just sort of saying it was a film. It's a film that I don't remember liking. And it's a film I've avoided watching for a long time, so that's obviously sure to excite you all. But it's from shot on video back to the hazy, crazy days of the Grindhouse. So it's a film that the reason I'm picking it partly because I want to see if my memory of it still holds true, and also I've got some great background and sort of info on the film. And it's 1980s Don't Answer the Phone.
Okay.
So I'd say it's a film that I don't remember liking that much because I remember it being a bit problematic and a bit grimy. But and I'm not even sure if you could even recall it a slasher movie, but I think it fits into that whole wheelhouse of the early 80s slasher movies. And obviously it was a video nasty and all that kind of thing. So we're going to cover that next time on the Hysteria Continues. So and let's see what we think of Don't Answer the Phone. It's one of the from the classic era of the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s slasher movies. So, anything left to say, guys?
If I swallowed nitric acid, would you help me?
If you swallowed nitric acid, would you be able to can pout? I don't know.
Would you be able to be helped?
Would I be able to do the podcast? That's the question.
So that's the most important thing is, can you do the podcast if you swallowed nitric acid?
Well, if it got into your stomach, you might need an enema.
Well, I'm not swallowing Nathan.
How dare you all?
You have in the past, though.
Oh, well, anyway, on that bombshell.
That was funnier than your joke of the week, Eric.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Anyway, let's sign off now. So what are we playing out with, Joseph?
This is If I Swallowed Nitric Acid, Would You Help Me? I don't know the name. I don't know the name of the song. That's just the song we're playing out with.
Okay. All right. Well, say goodbye to... Well, thank you for listening. Oh, and one last thing is to say... again, another big shout out to our lovely Patreon supporters and say thank you very, very much for supporting the show. And we are going to be recording our new Patreon shows, and I think we're covering Creep Show 1 and 2, a little double bill, and also we're going to be doing top 3 When Nature Attacks movies for next month. Or it'll be next month or this month?
It'll be this month. Yeah.
This month. Okay.
It'll go out the same month as this. So.
Yeah. So it's for as little as $1.
I don't even know anymore. So we'll find. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. But for as little as $1, you can support the show and listen to high quality, highly produced and polished shows such as this one.
See, now I have to polish these shows up just to keep our lovely supporters happy.
Yeah. So, okay, well, thank you for listening, guys, and yeah, we'll catch you next time on the Hysteria Continues.
The Hysteria. The Hysteria continues.
Yes. So, say goodbye to the good people.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.
If I had to leave you, baby, would it hurt you? Would you cry a lot if I wasn't there? If I was suddenly taken from you, sweetheart, light a candle for me, dear, and say a prayer. If my brains were turning mushy, would you want me? If I burned up in a fire, would you gasp? If I swallowed nitric acid, would you help me? Or would you just think that I possess no class? Oh, darling, please tell me now, 'cause the lights are getting dim. Oh, baby dumpling, why can't I once just win? If I should die before I hold you, life was one big sham. You're all I want in love, besides those farmyard plans. If I was lying, hurt and bleeding, would you love me? Blood was gushing round my head, would you care? If my lips were torn and mangled, would you kiss me? Or would you turn your back on me like I weren't there? If I were dragged by wild horses, would you miss me? If vultures pecked out both my eyes, would you cry? If all my limbs were pulled out of their sockets, would you hug me closer, just tell me goodbye? Oh, darling, please tell me now, 'cause the lights are getting dim. Oh, baby dumpling, why can't I once just win? If I should die before I hold you, life was one big sham. You're all I want in love, besides those farmyard nags. train ran over me, would you come running? Would you cauterize my wounds or walk away? Oh, darling, please tell me now, 'cause the lights are getting dim. Oh, baby dumpling, why can't I once just win? If I should die before I hold you, life was one big sham. You're all I want in loving, besides those farmyard lands.
So I think that for me, it's just a matter of what you were saying, Justin. And I can't believe Stripes just comes right back up here as soon as I start trying to talk. We were sitting here talking when we were offline forever, and she didn't do a damn thing. But she comes in and does that.
Justin, are you recording? Because this is going to the end of the episode.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm recording.
Come on.
So am I.
I'm a mystery. I'm an enigma, a mystery wrapped in a riddle. Yeah, enigma.
Oh, Nathan.
Oh, what is enema? He said enema. Oh, my God.
Enigma.
Yeah. You said you were the enema of the podcast.
No.
God, I'm
still
recording.
not fair, because Wes just yelled in here, no, they didn't mishear you.
Well, that's
poor Wes.
Classic.
Poor Wes has had about as bad a couple of weeks as you, and now he has to listen to you talk about enemas.
Well,
that's one for the ages, Nathan.
That was a faux pas, if you will.
What did he say now?
He said a faux poo.
That's just so childish.
Yes, that is very childish.
Do you want to hear a faux poo?
Oh, no.
Oh God! It's
no, Eric. We don't need literally to hear sounds of him.
Literally, it's turning to shit.
But this has got to stay in, Joseph. Don't edit this out.
Yeah, I'll throw it in there.
Yes.
No, you can edit it out. It's okay.
No. This is one for the ages. This is yeah. They'll be talking about this in years to come. They'll be telling their grandchildren.